Wake up. Yes, you still have to wake up. It's a holiday. You don't have to go to work, but you do have to listen to Damon and I spew.
Oh, welcome indeed. Oh, happy President's Day. My goodness. Tomorrow, Lunar New Year here in the Bay. I got 2 more days of the boys upstairs, Larry. 4-day weekends with the boys at home. It's an awful lot. So if we're moving a little slow this morning, apologies all around. But it's good to have you here. We got plenty to talk about. Larry and I cooked up an idea for this show on Friday where we said, let's go over the first 3 picks, what the Niners should do with their first 3 picks, and talk about a big free agent for them to sign. And that is what we're going to do, but not until we talk about the news that is breaking everywhere around the NFL right now, Larry. And the news is the Dolphins are hitting a massive reset. Their new head coach, Jeff Hafley, their new general manager, John Eric Sullivan, are making big, bold decisions. And one of those has Tyreek Hill, now officially a free agent. And not a free agent you need to wait till later on to sign. You could sign Tyreek Hill today if you wanted to. He turns 32 years old in March. He's coming off a torn ACL with a dislocated knee. This is definitely buying at the end of a career. Even as much as damaged goods and might not be the person the 49ers want to sign, Larry, he's an intriguing name. There's no way to pretend Tyreek Hill isn't a difference maker in the NFL still. And I would love to see what he looks like coming off this injury before you bought in. But if you want to add him, you can do it. If you're the 49ers, do you think they will express any interest in Tyreek Hill?
No, I don't. I mean, I think that, the key with being a football media person or a football fan or a football anything is you have to stay current. And current means this guy's done because we all saw the injury. He's an 8-time Pro Bowler. He's had a great career. He turns 32 on March the 1st. He's recovering, as you said, from a devastating injury where his leg was bent the wrong way. Yes, there's modern medicine. Yes, we saw, Nick Chubb and others come back from injuries, but I would say no. I mean, dislocated knee, torn ACL. He was probably overpaid to begin with. It's kind of a problem off the field. Just had a number of run-ins with different law enforcement, people throughout his career. I would say no. Bradley Chubb, who was also released today, might be a name the Niners have some interest in. He's had 22 sacks in the last 2.5 years. I don't think Hill. The 49ers, it's like the 49ers have to look ahead. Now they can go for some older guys for sure. But the older guys have to be, on minimum deals, really cheap, and ready to contribute. To me, going for this guy now is like it was like the beginning of the Eddie D reign. There's always going to be opportunities for big name guys who can't play anymore, and this is just the first of many that they'll have to choose from. It's going to be tougher. There's going to be a Greenlaw. There's going to be an Armstead. There's going to be a Debo. There's going to be a Hargrave. There's going to be guys that are done that you like and that fit into your room. And you're going to have to, basically say no to all that. And I think you got to say no to this too.
Now, there's some teams, there's some GM that I think is going to look at this a lot differently than you and I are looking at it. Like, here is a guy who is a proven difference maker until he's not. And even though it's the wrong time to be buying and investing in Tyreek Hill, if you're telling me he's going to be like some sort of a blue light or red light special, there is a price point where I would be very interested in this, but I don't think that price point's going to be there for the 49ers because there's always a bad team willing to make the wrong investment at the wrong time.
Well, it isn't, and now is not the right time to make the investment, even if you wanted this player. because this player is not going to be ready for probably the entire year. So I would say there's a very good chance that nobody signs him at all, and that he signs in December with somebody after he kind of gets healthy, gets on the field, shows what he is, shows what he isn't. Then teams will invest in him. I would be shocked if he's not signed. I would be shocked if he's signed before Thanksgiving. Shocked.
I'd be shocked if he weren't. I just think he's enough of a name and enough of an alluring figure where somebody's going to bite at this. And I'm not saying that smart money's going to jump on him, but somebody I think is going to pick up Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill, when he does play, is still a difference maker. Now, will he be that guy when he comes back? It's a legitimate question. Like you said, it's not just an ACL here. It's a knee dislocation. It was bad. It was officially bad, but it happened in September. So they're thinking September, October is when he could be returning to the field as an in-season pickup. Kind of interesting. You'd love to see him run first. You'd love to see if he's still got the speed that we remember, the ability to run in the open field, which I think defined him as a generationally significant player. He is as good in the open field as freaking Gale Sayers was. I mean, he runs around dudes, past dudes, through dudes. If he can't do that anymore, he's no longer Tyreek Hill. Like you, the old coach says, at some point, you're just the name on the back of your jersey and it ain't the name that it used to be. That could be the situation he's in. I would also strongly suggest that the chances of whoever the Niners were to draft at wide receiver, if they are to draft at wide receiver, would have a worse year next year statistically than Tyreek Hill. If Tyreek Hill does come back and play. Like, there's a part of me that at the right price, man, I would be interested in this player. I really would be. Now, then there's all the personality issues and the run-ins with the law, like you said, that I think are going to make the Niners even less hesitant to join this conversation. But man, that's a big name out there. And look, like you said, Bradley Chubb is also out there. And if you're really talking about adding a Dolphin that the Miami let go today, Bradley Chubb is kind of interesting. 8.5 sacks. He had 11 sacks in 2023 and a league-leading 6 forced fumbles. And then he tore his ACL and he missed the entire 2024 season, 2025, 8.5 sacks. He's a good player, Larry. He's a really good player that, if you're the Niners, who do you have that is instantly better than him, not named Nick Bosa?
Then who? Chubb?
Yeah.
Chubb's older, but Chubb still can do it. Chubb would be interesting for sure. I mean, I'm sharing the screen because I think people are forgetting what happened to Tyreek Hill.
We going to watch this?
This is the injury.
I don't want to watch it.
You got to see the injury to understand why I'm so pessimistic on this. When you see the distortion of this guy's leg, there was a post hit, and the same with this guy. Same with Ayuk. So it's just like I would say nobody touches this guy until he shows what he is post, because he's not going to want to sign for nothing. He's not going to want to go out there for nothing and a prove it deal. He's going to want to get something. So the teams are going to want to make sure before they offer him anything that he can do it, or what he can and can't do, his range of motion, his explosiveness. I mean, it's just a total. I mean, this guy's game is his ability to run by you, and if he can't run by you, he's not big. He's not particularly a great route runner. He doesn't have awesome hands. He's just an awesome speedster guy who now probably doesn't have his speed. So, I mean, I would say sometime he'll get healthy. My guess is in October, November. He'll do a workout. Bunch of teams will attend. And my guess is somebody will sign him. My guess is for next year. But if it's for this year, it's going to be, in November and to some contending team. If I had to guess, I would bet anything, almost anything, he'll go back to Kansas City, because that's where he had success. That's where he's considered home. They're looking to kind of retool the thing. If he's going to take less, he'll save face by going there.
Right.
So I think Kansas City is where he goes, and I think he'll probably be around Thanksgiving.
I think Kansas City is definitely a reality. I would say Las Vegas Raiders probably get into this conversation. This feels like a Raiders type of player or type of move. And what would be really interesting is to see if the Chargers have any interest in him with Mike McDaniel now being the offensive coordinator there. Is this a player that he would think, yeah, I'd like to see what he has left? But there you go. That is some big news around the NFL. Tyreek Hill officially unrestricted free agent for the first time in his career. The Dolphins going through a bit of a fire sale. So very interesting stuff kind of going on this Monday morning. Happy President's Day. Again, like and subscribe. Great that you're here. Sorry we're late. Let's get into it, Larry. We talked about how this team needs to get younger. They need to really nail it in this draft. So let's talk about the first 3 rounds and what the 49ers are going to do. Now, I don't know if you already, came up with your list here and you've got a trade of Mac. I don't really want to talk about trades or moving around. The Niners, their first 3 picks are 27, 58, and 92. That's where they pick. So that's where I was looking at players that I thought would fall into that range that have, what the Niners need. And do you want to go first?
No,
with the first overall? I saw that Pro Football Focus in their mock right now, they have wide receiver KC Concepcion from Texas A&M, 5'11", 61 catch guy, just over 900 yards, 9 touchdowns, very, very good player. If the 49ers were to take this player in the first round, I would lose my mind. That would just be the worst decision they could possibly make. An undersized wide receiver that'll quickly get lost in Shanahan's I don't like undersized wide receiver. Just there's a pattern there. I think that would be a huge, huge mistake. I know that we've talked about Caden Proctor. We've talked about Jennings Dunker, who is a guy who is sliding everywhere. Let's play find Jennings Dunker in mock drafts. I've seen him as high as 20. I've seen him in the 80s. So there is a huge, variance in what people think of Jennings Dunker, the tackle from Iowa that I know we were talking about.
By the way, KC Concepcion is a shade under 6 feet and about 195. So I wouldn't call him small. I mean, there are small receivers in this draft, but this guy's almost 6 feet, 195. So I'd push back on small. He's also going to run a great 40 time. I wouldn't take. I mean, it's funny. I'm looking at a mock draft simulator. In the simulator, he goes 26 right in front of the Niners. But yeah, I think it's a good name to connect to the Niners because they need a receiver. They may go receiver in round 1, and he is probably, if not the best receiver on the board at that point, he'll be among the best receivers on the board at that point. And it's an interesting name. But you're not going there.
No, I'm not going there. When I saw that Pro Football Focus, I'm like, geez, they're obviously not watching the Niners. That's again, theoretically, sure, interesting player. I'd take Omar Cooper before I would take KC Concepcion, though.
Doesn't move nearly as well. He's probably more dependable, a little bit bigger, a little stronger, but not as fast.
My official selection at 27.
Yeah, who are you going?
Monroe Freeling, tackle, Georgia, 21 years old. He's 6'7", he's 315. He's got those fast feet that works in the 49ers run game. We talked about how Caden Proctor might not be at his size fast enough to play tackle for the Niners. This guy is. He gets to that second level. And I also think he's as big as the 49ers need at tackle. He's good against pass pro. He's great in the run game. And he's also a guy that I think could slip in and play guard for the 49ers while they're waiting for Trent to either wrap it up or they make another decision at right tackle and all of a sudden things are different. But I like Monroe Freeling. It's not a tackle that we've talked an awful lot about. We've been talking about, again, Caden Proctor, Jennings Dunker, Caleb Lomu, out of Utah. But I spent this weekend watching an awful lot on Monroe Freeling from Georgia. He's only 21, too, which is now officially young coming out of college. Most guys are like 23, 24 these days. So I like him, Larry. I like him an awful lot. I think the 49ers could use him.
Yeah, he's an interesting player. He was a highly recruited guy out of high school. He entered the draft this year as a true junior. 6'6", 315 pounds. The thing they love about him is he's just a ridiculous mountain. I mean, he's 6'7", 315. He's got an 84-inch wingspan. He's considered to be an excellent athlete at that size. Obviously, he played at Georgia. I don't think this guy's a guard. I think this guy's a tackle. I don't even think he's a guard early. Jennings Dunker, the more I watch Dunker, the more I think he is a guard. And Caden Proctor, some people have suggested the Niners go for Caden Proctor out of Bama, who's just absolutely massive. And he's more of a gap scheme, power scheme kind of a player. I just don't think he fits the Niners scheme at all. Freeling, I think, would.
Does. Yeah.
That's an interesting pick for sure.
Where are you going? 27,
okay.
Larry. Board's
okay,
on
I thought you were going all the way down your thing. Okay, so at 27, who am I going with? Well, I have to look at the mock simulator, which I'm looking at just to see who's on the board, because you never know who's going to be there. I'm looking at a board right now that has Caden McDonald from Ohio State as a big, strong defensive tackle. There's Lee Hunter.
Not much of a pass rusher, but great against
pass rusher. But he's very quick, and he's very. I mean, the Niners have to be able to stop the run at the point for sure. There's Lee Hunter, who looked great at the Senior Bowl from Texas Tech. Texas Tech had an amazing year. There's a number one corner here in Colton Hood. There's a lot of interesting players here. There's your guy, D'Angelo Pons, who I really do like, even though this might be a tad early for him because he is a little.
I don't think he's in the first rounder, Larry. I don't.
Well, I don't know about that. I saw him working out the other day in the 4.3s, and he's an awesome corner. I mean, he's a tremendous corner. He's probably a little small to take that early, but I mean, I'll just say this. D'Angelo Pons is going between 27 and 50. So if you want him, this is your opportunity at him. And he's probably one of the safest players in the entire draft. It's tough. Personally, I think this is a trade back situation for the Niners. Even if it's just a few spots, I would look to trade back just to see if I could get, one more player out of this situation.
Who would, I guess the question would be then, who's trading up with the Niners to come in that far back in the first round? It would be a team that would want to, at this point, reach on a quarterback, take him in the first round and get that extra year of control, right?
Well, I mean, first of all, there is no quarterback. I mean, I guess there's Garrett Nussmeier. Trinidad Chambliss went back to school. I don't know if you saw that in the last couple days. So he's back. He went back to school. So maybe it's somebody who falls in love with Garrett Nussmeier. That's really all I can. You're also looking at, Denzel Boston. You mentioned Omar Cooper, Elijah Surratt, Chris Bell. The last group of first round receivers is kind of sitting there. There could be an offensive tackle trade up. This kid from Arizona State, Max Iheen Achor. Is just a freaky athlete at 6'6", 330 or 6'7", 330. And he looks so good in the All-Star game that it would not surprise me at all if somebody traded up for him. There's some really good edge rushers. Let me just take a quick peek at what's left. I personally would probably have to go with an edge rusher here, unless, I do love. There's three safeties that are making this tough for me. A.J. Halsey, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, and Dylan Thieneman. I think they're all kind of second-round safeties. Halsey is going to run the best, I think, and he's also kind of a hitter. So I'm going to go A.J. Halsey. I'm going to go with the safety. A.J. Halsey. I think the Niners need they need their version of John Lynch, their version of Ronnie Lott. They need some really great defenders, and Halsey is he's 220 pounds, but he can run. He was great at Houston. He transferred to LSU. He was the captain. He was awesome. He's a hitter. He's a cover guy. So I'll go A.J. Halsey as a difference maker safety.
I like pedigree of, LSU secondary players for sure. Would you feel this way had we not just watched Rise of the Niners on AMC when everyone fell in love again with Ronnie Lott?
No, yeah, I mean, it really did open my eyes because, I lived it, but it's like it was always nice to get a reminder. And the reminder was this. The Niners had Joe Montana in 1980. They had Bill Walsh in 1980. They had Dwight Clark in 1980. They had Freddie Solomon in 1980. But what they didn't have was a defense. and they didn't have any fearsome defensive players. And in a very short amount of time, they added. I mean, if it's really amazing if you think about it. In a short amount of time, 80 they didn't have any of these guys. In 81, they did. Carlton Williamson, thumper, strong safety. Ronnie Lott, we all know what he is, Hall of Famer, played corner, played safety. Eric Wright was one of the greatest athletes to ever play corner when he came out of Missouri. And then they added Fred Dean in a trade and Jack Hacksaw Reynolds. We're talking about five super violent, impact, fearsome defensive players. There's only 6 guys on your defense. They added 5 of these guys before 81, and their defense completely turned around. So I would say the Niners, they have more to do this year because they have to replace Kittle, and they have to maybe replace CMC, and they have to replace Debo and Ayuk, and they have a lot of weapons that they need, and they need new offensive linemen, and there's a lot of needs. But if they could find some fearsome defensive players, I think that's absolutely on the to-do list, and AJ Halsey is that.
I like it. I like the pick, Larry. I don't dislike it, but it's not on the line of scrimmage. Therefore, I think
there's a lot of good line of scrimmage guys in this draft for sure.
There are. And I am staying on the line of scrimmage at 58. Second round pick of the 49ers. And this team, I think their best chance to flirt with an NFC West division title beyond getting better defensively, which is clearly something that they need to do. But it's Brock Purdy. It's Brock Purdy playing like an MVP. And it's time to officially build the wall around Brock Purdy to allow him to do that. And so at 58, I'm staying on the offensive line. This is how much I mean the 49ers kind of get better in the trenches. I'm taking center Jake Slaughter out of Florida. 6'5", 303. He's been the best center in the SEC for the past 2 seasons. In 2004, I think I read 1 sack on 800 pass rush attempts. He's outstanding in pass protection. He's got all the push that you need in the run game. I watched a video out of the Senior Bowl where some guy with a really nice Southern drawl, who's a good old ball coach, was just raving about how smart he was and how this guy just identifies blitzes. And again, when you are regarded as one of the best offensive linemen in the SEC, I think that really means something. I think if he's there at 58, this is a pick that the Niners really need to consider. He's the upgrade over Jake Brendel that the 49ers need. And if you're telling me, well, they're so in love with Jake Brendel that they're not going to go ahead and use this guy, well, this is the guy that you can kick over and ask him to play guard for sure. If, Monroe Freeling is a little bit too big for that position at 6'5", 303, this guy would be perfect to slide over to left guard. But I like him at center, and I think the 49ers need to get better at center. They need to get a better pass pro center, and this is the best guy in the draft, I think, at that position. Jake Slaughter, Florida, Larry. I like him.
All right, good name. That's not my favorite guy, but, he's good. He's considered to be a very good player. This is a tough call because – do you go offense? Do you go defense? Where do you find your special players? I'm looking for a great player. I'm looking for somebody who's going to be a Pro Bowler, an All-Pro. I think there's some good guards here. I've already taken the safety, so I can't go safety. But to me, I'm going to go with a little bit of a sleeper here. I'm going Josiah Trotter, the linebacker from Missouri.
Larry.
He's just an awesome player. I mean, it's like this guy is absolutely amazing. He declares after his redshirt sophomore year, he transferred from Missouri from West Virginia, racked up 84 tackles, 13 TFLs, 2 sacks. He was a standout. This is Jeremiah Trotter's son, the younger brother of Jeremiah Trotter Jr.
Yeah, so who's on the Eagles right now.
Yeah, who's not at all like the dad. The dad was a big thumper. The son, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., is kind of a runaround, smaller guy. Josiah is more like the dad. And this guy's got dominant traits, man. This is a dominant player. He's 6'2", 237, but he's just a great, great player. Love him. Absolutely love him. He's a second-level player with explosiveness, range, physicality. This is a Pro Bowl linebacker for sure. Linebackers are one of the safest positions, and I'm going Josiah Trotter in round 2. To me, there's, there were some other guys there. Ted Hurst from Georgia State, the receiver, Jennings Dunker, and some of those guards, some of those offensive linemen who potentially profile as guards. They're all sitting there, but I got to find greatness, and I can't. I know I need a guard. I know I need a center. I know I need some offensive line, but the bottom line is I need great players, and that's what I'm going for in this draft. It has to be. You have to get great players. And to me, fearsome defenders, Shanahan can plug in with all kinds of guys at different spots. Heck, we just saw them win. Purdy can throw to a lot of different receivers. And, AJ and Jake Tonjes played well at tight end. And they can find offensive linemen. Heck, they've found offensive linemen to this point. But you're not going to find fearsome defensive players. So
Speaking
I'm
of
going
offensive
fearsome
line,
defensive player AJ Halsey, fearsome defensive player Josiah Trotter.
speaking of offensive linemen, do you see the 49ers retained Austin Pleasance, who honestly I think absolutely earned that roster spot. He was a good backup in one game, and then the Seahawks obviously sort of beat his brains in the following week. But when he had to come in and substitute, I thought he did a really nice job. So I'm glad that Austin Pleasance is back.
Yeah. He did play well, which is another reason that I'm sure the Niners, like there are people that don't believe the Niners need offensive linemen at all in this draft. And I'm like,
That's
well, wait
insane.
a second.
That's insane.
So you got Trent and you got Colton and you got Austin, and you're probably going to go with 3 tackles. You're going to have a hard time drafting a tackle that can beat out Pleasance. So I do understand their tackle situation where they wouldn't go tackle early. But to me, you absolutely have to go guard or center at some point or relatively early. Or at least you got to get a guy. I mean, you don't have to go early. Like I'm looking here at pick 92, and I'm looking at the board, and I'm seeing guys that I love, like Bo Stevens from Iowa, Fabechi Nuwawu from Oklahoma. I love him. He's really, really strong. Inez Cooper, Jeremiah Wright. There's some good players here.
Let me ask you, what list are you working off of?
I'm just looking at one of the mock draft simulators.
Right, but which one?
PFSN.
Okay, so I'm going off the Pro Football Focus. They did here's our first 3-round mock, and I was using that as pretty much all right, so let's see where the players
don't have very many players in there. So like this mock has 5 times as many players as that mock. That's the only thing I don't like about that one.
So in this mock, though, so at 92 in the 3rd round, because they got him coming off the board here in the late 90s, this is where I've got Josiah Trotter. If he's still there, I mean, good God, you like him in the 2nd round, so that means you would love him in the 3rd round. Josiah Trotter, like you just said, this is a do-it-all, all SEC linebacker who plays in every direction. And before you say anyone who's like, well, they already have Fred Warner, this guy's a middle linebacker. He's middle linebacker on the depth chart, but not on the tape. He plays as far back as safety at some points on the tape. He is lining up all over the defensive formation. He can play either line. He can play all 3 linebacking spots that the 49ers are going to be looking for. I love Trotter too. And again, he's a legacy. His brother's playing in the league right now. His dad played in the league. He is so patient when he diagnoses plays. You can see, like, ball is snapped, chaos ensues, but not this guy. Like, he's not running into scrums. He's not running into traffic. He runs around the traffic, diagnoses the play, and he makes it. I really like Josiah Trotter. Again, I got him at 92 because I'm just following what I saw in this, Pro Football Focus. This is where players will approximately fall. If they got him in the 2nd round, Larry, I would absolutely like him in the 2nd round. 3rd round, come on. I mean, what if I told you he was there at 92 in the 3rd round? Would you run that pick to the podium?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I took him in the 2nd round. So, yeah, I would definitely take him. All right. So now I'm in the 3rd round, and, it's tough. Do I go defense again? There's Malachi Lawrence, the edge rusher, I think is very, very good. There's a lot of good linebackers still, including Jacob Rodriguez, who had an amazing year for Texas Tech, but I don't know what he is as a next level linebacker. There's Chandler Rivers, who's a super aggressive corner. I do like him a lot. And there's Zane Durant, who I really like a lot from Penn State as an interior rusher. And that's probably where I'd go here, probably go interior rusher. But let's flip over to the offense real quick. Just take a look at who's on the board.
For like an internal there's some lineman, an insider, Bo Stevens. You like Iowa guys, man, right?
I love it. But I mean, I'm a believer like the Niners are that you can get some good offensive linemen later on. And I also like Nick Allegretti in free agency. And so I think Allegretti is a guy that I'm going to go for in free agency. There, I also need a tight end. There's Eli Stowers. There's Eli Raridan from Notre Dame. There's Justin Jolly. And I'm looking at some of these offensive linemen now, too. I like Keegan Trost. I like J.C. Davis. I like Austin Barber at tackle. I love Bo Stevens. I love that kid from Nebraska. And I might go with him. I love Jeremiah Wright, who's just a monstrous guard from Auburn. And I love this kid, Brian Parker. You know what? Very difficult, but I'm going to stay with my game plan. I'm going to go with the pass rushing tackle. I like Zane Durant from Penn State. To me, this guy's awesome. He's 290 pounds. The Niners, they have to get more rush. They have to be better on defense. And by the way, I'm looking at their 4th round pick, and Detroit is offering me 4 picks for their 4th round pick. And this is what I would do. I would move back. To me, I'm going there with Zane Durant, but I'll tell you the guy who was on the board, who I really, really love, is the Notre Dame running back. The backup running back for Notre Dame is a tremendous player. What's his name? Jadarian Price. Jadarian Price from Notre Dame was going to be really tough for me to pass up. But I got to go with the pass rushing defensive tackle. Durant is 290 pounds, and he's fast. He moves like a linebacker. He's an interior rusher. They need that third guy inside. They have Collins and they have West, but they're pluggers, they're run stuffers, they're somewhat immobile. I need a rusher inside. I mean, the Niners, they missed DeForest Buckner. They've missed an interior rusher. You saw what Byron Murphy and Leonard Williams give you as interior rushers. Niners don't have any of that. So I'm going with Zane Durant.
So you just spent your first 3 picks all on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah. And you know what? My plan would be to build the offense in free agency and build the defense in the draft. I just really think that you can't find great defensive players in free agency for the most part. If you do, you're going to pay a ton. So I like Shanahan to be able to find some offensive players in free agency. And I give you some examples. I mentioned Nick Allegretti. I like him as an interior guy. I don't think he's going to cost you a lot. There's a ton of tight ends that I think are going to be available once teams start paring guys down because of the cap. And I love Tommy Tremble and a bunch of others, but I love Tommy Tremble. I think he would be a very good tight end. And then receiver-wise, I mean, rookie receivers just do not produce. Jerry Rice struggled as a rookie. I mean, for every Randy Moss, there's 20 guys that don't produce. So I would lean towards a trade or a veteran at receiver.
This is where it's tough to do a solo show when you got the kids home. I got to go help a 6-year-old, Larry. I'll be right back. Okay. You got to carry this show for a minute while I'm tapping into 6-year-old needs. I'll be right back.
All righty. We do have 3 supers that we will hit here. We can do them right here. We got this one from Spazzy Mac 123. Not going anywhere. Next year's draft line and no signings. Not going anywhere. Really? It's awfully early in the offseason to announce you're not going anywhere. Why don't we do this? Why don't we wait until, I don't know, May and decide that the team sucks? Let's not decide they suck before they cut anybody, sign anybody, draft anybody, trade anybody. Thank you for the $1.99, but I would pump the brakes on any declarations, good or bad, until we get to May 1st. You can't really say anything about anybody until you get to May 1st, really. Too much sauce. J-Dub, how does Kay Adams book guests so easily? Oh, it's just her platform. Whatever platform she's on, I'm sure they either pay those guys or have some, I'm sure she's either compensating or something. I mean, or she's working with the NFL network or something. I don't know. I mean, she's got some connection. But yeah, I mean, it's television. Sometimes they may offer you something. Maybe they're promoting things for people. But yeah, it's not that NFL players are walking around going, I need to talk to Kay Adams. It's that she's hooked up with some FanDuel or something like that, and they're getting her guests. The question was, how does
Kay Adams question up there?
So how does Kay Adams get book guests so easily? Well, I'm just saying.
My question is, who is her agent?
Well,
is she a CAA gal? Is she, you will find that a lot of big time hosts share the agency, usually with some of their big time guests. So I would like to know who her agent is, what agency she works for, and then obviously she's got a ton of money behind that show, and it's a higher profile show, and she does just of an interview to be credible, enough of an interview, but not so much of an inside fastball interview where it makes guys uncomfortable. So she's a safe conversation for players to book.
Yeah. She's not going to attack. Spazzy Mac. F you, Larry. Only draft good positive tools. Fill out what I need with free agents. All right. There you go. So, I was just saying that. So were we going just the top three, or wasn't it top three and something?
No. So top three and free agency, right? So, that we kind of started with Tyreek Hill because that just hit the wire this morning. But when we go back to free agency and really talk about what the Niners need to do, this is where I think, like we were saying, I don't want any rookies. Kyle Shanahan doesn't like rookie skill position players, period. He doesn't trust them. He doesn't like them. I think he finds ways to not play them more than he finds ways to get them on the field. And we have an overwhelming amount of evidence.
I disagree. I mean, he played Kittle.
All right. Well, yeah, that's the thing. I guess when you stumble into a future Hall of Famer in the 5th round, you are going to play that guy. But outside of future Hall of Famer, he does not like to play rookies, period.
If he were sitting right here, he'd push back and say, no, that's not the case. That they're just not ready to play.
All right. Well, then I'd go with snap counts.
He played CJ West. He played.
How do you get a rookie ready to play if you're not going to play him?
He played Upton Stout, played every snap. So I don't really think Kyle won't play rookies. I think it's just a matter of,
again, defensive rookies,
good enough rookies to play.
Defensive rookies, he will play. Offensive rookies, he just does not play them.
Threw Brock Purdy in there.
Well, I mean, it was a sequence of injuries and desperation that I think forwarded that as much as anything, right?
But he would have pulled him out of there if he couldn't play. My point is just that I think Kyle will play rookies. I think it's just a matter of, can you play? I don't think they've drafted well. They haven't drafted good enough rookies. If they drafted better, I think he would have played those guys. Yeah, I really do.
Well, either way, whatever brings them to I don't play the rookie, I'm going to assume that is still in effect here. So I am looking at free agency from a wide receiver position. And we have talked about this. I've already said, I keep on coming back to 2 names, Alec Pierce and Wendell Robinson. These guys are out there. Jacoby Myers, Romeo Dobbs. I guess we need to talk about Jawan Jennings here. For the right price, Jawan can come back home. For the wrong price, it's time to say goodbye, right? I mean, and I think I saw Mayoko this weekend say he doesn't think that Jawan Jennings is coming back, and he also says, get your mind out of the Debo cloud right now. That's not going to happen, which is good because that shouldn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, Mayoko says they're moving on from JJ, and I've been saying that for the last couple weeks as well. Why? Because when JJ was last in the Niner locker room on the final day of the year, he was weepy, and he's not typically weepy like that. So that told me that he knows that, he knows. I'm sure the Niners have exchanged some kind of offers with his agent. Same way that Greenlaw knew that he was gone way in advance. This guy knows he's gone. And it's not a bad thing. I mean, he's going to choose to leave. He's going to get offers that exceed what they're going to offer, but that's just it. And I think he'd like to stay, but he also knows he's got to get he's got to go secure the bag for his family. And so I think he understands that. I would fully expect Jawan Jennings to wind up with Robert Saleh in Tennessee. Why? Because I've looked at the cap numbers, and the Titans have by far the most cap room, and they have a young quarterback that they're looking to support, and they're going to support him by getting probably an offensive lineman and a receiver, and the Jennings signing because of Saleh, because of their relationship, because of what he is in Nashville to the fans there in the state of Tennessee, because he played at Tennessee. I think it's a no-brainer. I think, 2 years, 40 million, something like that. Maybe 3 years, 50 million. I don't know. But it's going to be more than the Niners want to pay, and it's going to be multiple years, and I think he's going to go to Tennessee. So, yeah, I think he's out.
So I know I talked about drafting Slaughter in the second round out of Florida. You would not need to do that if Tyler Linderbaum became your top offseason free agent priority from the Baltimore Ravens. I think that is a place where, again, they just got to get better at center. They can say all the nice things they want to about Jake Brendel. They've got to know that they need to upgrade that. They just have to. They're not going to dump on their player as they're considering, what they're going to do at the position. Of course, they're going to say, we really like our guy. It's all business as usual until things become unusual. I would absolutely look at Tyler Linderbaum. I think that they made a mistake by not going after, Drew Dahlman last year, who was a big reason why the Chicago Bears became a playoff team like overnight. I think that they needed to make that move last year. They didn't. And I know you keep on saying that there are a lot of good offensive linemen in this draft, and there are. But I just think it's time for the Niners to stop moneyballing their offensive line, trying to find, we're right on the edge of great value and good production, and we like him in the 5th round, and no other NFL team came for this guy, but we think that we can get the most out. No, I need some proven Brock Purdy doesn't get hurt offensive lineman in front of him, and I think that they need to do that now. Linderbaum would be a great place for that to start.
Yeah, I'm not going there. Linderbaum PFF grade is basically almost the same as Brendel's, and Brendel cost like a fourth as much, and they like Brendel. I personally wouldn't stay with Brendel, but I wouldn't go with Linderbaum. I think Linderbaum is that's shopping off the top shelf, and I don't think the value's there. The guy that I would go for is Nick Allegretti, because Allegretti's cheaper. He can play guard or center. And here's the thing: if you get to camp, the reality is that you're going to lose. You're going to lose Spencer Burford. He's going to walk away. So, and Linderbaum's best position is center, and so you don't have a left guard, but you may have 2 centers. So I personally, instead of playing Linderbaum out of position at guard, which probably would piss him off since he's played center, and that's where he's got his best game.
Maybe Brendel can move over to guard.
Yeah, I don't want that either. I really don't. I don't want Brendel at guard either. Some old, underpowered guy. No, I would say I like a guy like Allegretti. He's a lot cheaper, and he can play guard or center. He's smart. The Niners almost signed him last year when he went to Washington. He's not a free agent right now. But I think he's going to be a cap casualty. Washington is woefully over the cap, so I'll go with Allegretti as a free agent, but I think he's a cheaper free agent. As far as like my primary free agent, if I was going with the primary guy, I like Wandale. Wandale, I think, has got some potential for sure, but I would probably go with, it's really difficult to say exactly who you'd go with in free agency because you just don't know exactly what you'd need. But to me, the guy that I think I would go after, I think you got to somehow take some pieces away from Seattle. I think Seattle's got so much going on that I think it would be nice to take a piece or two away from them. And they got a couple guys. I mean, Tariq Woolen, and Woolen's been very inconsistent in Seattle, but he's big, he's fast, he's rangy, he's good against the run. I really like him. I would probably go for a guy like Tariq Woolen, or if I wasn't going Tariq Woolen, I might go, Romeo Dobbs. That receiver. The Niners are going to need a receiver, no matter what they do offensively. If they are going to say goodbye to Juwan Jennings, you've now said goodbye to your guy. You've said goodbye to your guy who catches all the balls and keeps drives alive, and so you need that guy. And Dobbs is that guy. Dobbs, a high percentage of his catches this year went for first downs. He's very much a chain mover. He's from the West. He played at Nevada. I think you're going to be able to get him for like $12 million a year. So maybe do a 2-year deal for $25 million, something like that. 12 this year, 13 next year. But I think Dobbs is the reasonable get, and I also think that he's the guy that you could bring in right away and will produce. Where some of these other receivers, really, really good, but it may take a year, it may take 6 months. And if you're the Niners, I don't know, you got to draft some guys who are ready to roll. You got to bring some guys in who are ready to roll. So I like Dobbs.
It would take a significant chunk of, your cap. How interested would you be in trading for A.J. Brown from Philadelphia? If Brandon Ayuk could open the door to make that happen. I mean, I think that's something that you have to consider. This is a really good player.
Would I trade a Brandon Ayuk off of a major injury who's already stated doesn't want to be here for A.J. Brown, who's outproduced? I mean, it's that's a dream scenario,
right? But you'd have to throw him in. That's the add-on, right? It's probably Brandon Ayuk and picks, or
Ricky Pearsall and picks.
See, I think you got to keep Ricky around for one more. Let's see if you can season. I still think that
here's the thing about that though. If you keep Ricky around and he has a bad year, people are like, oh no, keep him around for one more year and then trade him. No. If he has a bad year, he's not tradable. If he has a bad year, you can't get anything for him. If you trade him now, you could get something for him. And I understand they need receivers now, but they need healthy receivers, and he's not healthy, and he's never been healthy. And do you really believe that it's all like freakish, accidental, weirdo stuff? Or do you think that there's a pain tolerance issue? Because to me, he's had a number of different injuries. I think he can't get out there. Some guys can't play unless, there's, have you ever driven an Alfa Romeo or something? It's like sometimes those cars don't run that good except, when they're running great. And all of a sudden you got to take him to the shop. And then I had a buddy who had a really nice Alfa Romeo, and the thing purred like a kitten, except when it didn't. And it was in the shop all the time. And he's just like, you know what? It's a good car, but it's just in the shop. So I'd say the same thing about Ricky. It's a good car, but it's just in the shop. And there's nothing, you can get all upset about it, but, or you can sit there and, do you really think that your car that's been in the shop a ton is going to be not in the shop going forward? I mean, it's not realistic. So I personally, you could get a lot for Ricky right now. You might be able to get A.J. Brown. You might be able to get Brian Thomas. You might be able to get a good receiver for him. And I would do it.
Kyle Pitts is a name that we obviously started talking about right away. We know how much Brock loves a tight end, but this is now, you're on the top shelf once again here for Kyle Pitts. The Falcons should probably just go ahead and either re-sign him or franchise tag him for like 16 to 17 million a year. He would be coming in on a very expensive contract. No matter where he goes, he's about to get paid. Kyle Pitts, are you comfortable throwing away more than a third of your entire cap room on a tight end when you know that Kittle is eventually coming back?
Yeah, I mean, I do love Kyle Pitts. And I do think Kyle Pitts is going to be a great signing for whoever signs him now, because I think he's going to play his best ball right now. And he's 6'6", 240. He's a great receiver. He's a blue chip player. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's a top 5 pick, I believe, top 10 for sure, and just hasn't done it because of injuries, and it just hasn't happened.
And it's been a revolving door at quarterback for him too.
Yeah, they haven't had the quarterback. So I would say I love the idea of Kyle Pitts. But I do think that yeah, I mean that's an easy one. It's like, do I want Trey Hendrickson? Yes. Do I want Kyle Pitts? Yes. Do I want Max Crosby? Yes. Do I, I mean, these are easy ones. I would say the tight end that to me, as I said, I like Tommy Tremble as a value tight end. He can block guys in space. That's a big problem. The Niners have not been able to have a tight end who can block in line, but other than Kittle. Farrell didn't do it this year, but they really don't have a tight end that can block out in space, and Tremble can do that. So I like Tremble, but the guy that to me is really intriguing is Isaiah Likely from Baltimore, because, Baltimore's got 3 tight ends. Sounds like they're going to let Likely walk. They've got a bunch of cap problems. He's 6'5", he's 245. He's a really intriguing tight end. Blocker and receiver. I think Isaiah Likely could be a great pickup. I prefer Pitts. Don't get me wrong. Pitts is truly amazing. But if you wanted to go cheaper, Tremble or Isaiah Likely would be my choices.
Right. One guy's in the well, the other guy's on the top shelf. How much money can you actually spread around and address all your needs here? Finally, you talked about tapping into Seattle. And when a team is going good, you want to tap in, right? I think it's what is going to bring an awful lot of Indiana football players into the forefront in this draft. Again, that team went so well, played such good football. People are going to want to tap into that. Brian Fleury is going in the opposite direction, though. He is heading to Seattle as their new offensive coordinator. This was a guy who was a defensive quality control coach before he became an offensive quality control coach under Shanahan early in the regime, the first year that they went to the Super Bowl 2019. And then he became tight ends coach, and George Kittle in that tight ends room has been one of the strengths of the 49ers for sure. He's off to Seattle as their new offensive coordinator. And let me just say, this is a guy whose name was not exactly bandied about during this coaching cycle. It feels like he is one of the last ideas more than he was a first idea that anyone had. But this is just, I think, not good for the 49ers. And I'm not saying that they can't replace him or get another tight end coach or run game coordinator or anything like that. But this is institutional knowledge that the Seattle Seahawks just signed about the 49ers. The 49ers are going up against the defending Super Bowl champ, who is their division rival, who now has a guy who speaks fluent San Francisco 49ers running the Seahawks offense. Do you see Brian Fleury going to Seattle being a bit of a problem for the Niners?
No, I don't.
We didn't talk about it much. That's the thing. With all the coaching that we talk about with the Niners, we never really brought up what an important piece he's been. The hire kind of surprised me.
Well, okay, a couple things on this one. One, everybody always thinks that anytime an opening happens, you just go for the biggest name. But there's so many tentacles to this thing. It's like, if you change, there's a reason that Kansas City was on top forever. There's a reason that New England was on top forever. And it's easy to go, well, they had Mahomes, they had Brady. But it's more than that. It's more than that. It's about continuity. And every time the Raiders change out a new coach and a new coordinator and this and that, they got to start fresh. A whole new thing that you're teaching. And what do the Chiefs have? The Chiefs have Andy Reid, Spags, Dave Taub, same coordinator, same system, no turnover. They only turn over players. They don't turn over coaches. They don't turn over their scheme. So they build on their scheme from year to year. And they're like taking French 4 and you're taking French 1. And then and then you're trying to beat them on Sunday and they're way advanced. And that's the problem. So continuity, I think, does matter, which is why Raheem Morris was signed by the Niners because the Niners wanted the continuity of, we want to keep Johnny Holland. We want to keep Chris Kasarik. We want to stay with our wide nine. We want to continue playing predominantly zone on the back end. Schwartz would have changed that. And so Morris became the choice because of his relationship with Shanahan, but also the continuity that he represented. And that's all that this is. This is just, this guy represents continuity. He's going to run the same system that Kubiak ran. He knows the system really, really well. He also knows Sam Darnold really, really well, and Sam knows him. So this was a continuity hire for sure. But as far as the 49ers are concerned, this guy was their run game coordinator at a year where they couldn't run the ball.
They didn't run the ball very well. I read articles about like, oh, he understands angles. Well, those angles didn't open up much in the running game this year.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to bash Fleury. I've interviewed him a bunch. I like him a lot. I think he's a quiet, understated guy, but he's cerebral and he knows this system. And I'm sure he also has a good relationship with John Benton. John Benton is basically the guy who used to be with the Niners, who's now with Seattle, who's their kind of run game coordinator. And so I'm sure they wanted somebody who could fit in to their overall, they had their boxes they wanted to check. The Niners boxes were, we want to keep Chris Kasarik, we want to keep Johnny Holland, we want to stay with the wide nine, we want to play predominantly zone on the back end, we want to introduce more 5-man fronts. Who can we go to? Oh, Raheem Morris. Seattle's looking at this going, we want to keep Sam Darnold, we want to keep our offense, we want to keep continuity within our offense, we don't want to change it. We want to have somebody who knows the offense and knows. So this is a guy that knows the offense. He's never been a coordinator. He's never been a play caller. I mean, not in the NFL, I should say. Brian was a play caller, I believe, at the college level, but not at the pro level. So it's a major step up for sure. It did catch me by surprise as far as him being named the offensive coordinator. But the more you think about it, Damon, it's all about the comfort of John Benton and Sam Darnold. That's really what's important to them here with this hire. And I'm sure John Schneider said to Sam and Benton, hey, who are you guys comfortable with? And they said, hey, we're comfortable with Brian Fleury. And I think it's going to be, I think it's a pretty decent hire for what they were looking for, but it is a little bit of a risk because he's never called plays in the NFL, and the Niner run game, it wasn't like they had all the answers last year. They had Christian McCaffrey, and they could not run the ball. I mean, with any efficiency, at all.
I think that was Brian, but their offensive line, not their run game coordinator. It's actually, you can draw up the right play, but you need guys to execute it. I don't think they had the interior offensive line to execute it. Sam Darnold, though, just, not even 2 weeks after winning a Super Bowl, he lost his offensive coordinator and his quarterback coach, who'd signed on as the Raiders' next offensive coordinator. So big changes up in Seattle, little bit of a change to the 49ers coaching staff, and it'll be interesting to see how they go ahead and they address that. Will they add a tight ends coach and an and a run game coordinator? Is this 2 positions? Is this 1 position? Who are they going to go out and hire to fill this? We do know that George Kittle didn't like it. George Kittle immediately tweeted, sad. So there you go. Let me tell you too, I really think that Jake Tongas is the answer for the 49ers as an offensive weapon at tight end. I mean, I think that the answer to a lot of their tight end questions is just sitting right there on their team, and they're lucky to have him. And I hope I'm right about that. And that way they don't have to go out and spend on Kyle Pitts.
Well, they got to run the ball, though. They got to run the ball. And Tonjas is 235, and he's got great hands. I mean, they need obviously more. They need better runners. I would use McCaffrey more flexed out as a receiver. To me, finding a couple of runners that are really dynamic with heart is the way to go. I like Kalen Black from Indiana. I really like Jadarian Price from Notre Dame, but they're going to be, guys that are going to be coveted. So you're going to have to use probably a day 2 pick on Price. You're going to have to use a high day 3 pick on Black, and they have a lot of other needs. But those are 2 backs that I would love to see the Niners. Love to see the Niners add a back and then take Christian and use him a little bit more the way like the Lions used Jahmyr Gibbs. And one guy who's a cap they're saying is going to be a cap casualty that I'd be all over if I were the Niners He's David Montgomery from played with Brock Purdy at Iowa State. He's been a really good player for the Bears and Lions. I would bring him in and use Christian the way Detroit uses Gibbs, which is a lot, but just not necessarily between the tackles. I'd let Montgomery run those runs between the tackles. One other Niner news on the coaching front: they hired Jerry Gray, the veteran, is the new DB coach. And obviously, this is Raheem Morris's hire, right? Morris is the defensive coordinator, and they were together in Atlanta the last couple of years. And Gray's been coaching in the NFL for a long time. I mean, a long time. So, anyway, he brings a ton of decades of NFL experience. This guy played in the NFL. He's coached in the NFL. He was a first-round pick by the Rams in '85. Played his playing career with the Rams, the Oilers, and the Bucks. Began his coaching career at SMU in the mid-'90s. Coached with the Titans. Helped them reach the Super Bowl. Went to Buffalo as the defensive coordinator. DB coach in Washington. Then he was in Seattle. He returned to Tennessee. So he's been around the block, and he reunites with Raheem Morris. And they were together in Atlanta. So Jerry Gray comes in as the new DB coach, and I would imagine Morris is going to be very hands-on himself.
By the way, did you hear that Raheem Morris was on vacation with Sean McVay when he got hired to be the next defensive coordinator of the 49ers?
Yeah, I did hear that. Yeah.
That's got to be
McVay. McVay was like, hey, I wish he could have gone somewhere else, but McVay, and that's the other, we haven't even mentioned this, but the other big story this weekend was that Dieter went on the Gold Star Network with Rob Guerrera and dropped this bomb that he says that he's hearing that the 49ers may hire a new general manager within the next couple of weeks. That they may actually, didn't sound like they were going to fire. I don't think they're going to fire John Lynch, but I could, like what I've been talking about, what you and I have been talking about, which is that they've missed on a lot of picks, and that they ought to promote Lynch up to a president's role and go hire somebody who's a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more skilled at drafting. They've missed too many picks, especially in day 1 and day 2 of the draft. Well, Dieter is suggesting that this could be a reality. Then he went out and he threw it out there, and then he kind of backtracked and said, or nothing may happen. So he's kind of covered either way. But that one was interesting for sure. That's an interesting report.
You and I have been speculating on this for a long time, and we've been saying it's exactly what the 49ers need. It's not that Lynch has no value as an evaluator. He has just been overvalued, and it's time to bring in some new eyes or an old set of eyes like Scott McLuhan, somebody who's done it, somebody who doesn't want the mic, somebody who doesn't want the credit or the prestige, just wants to grind tape in a room and come out with a couple of answers. That's what the Niners need. Again, I
went through a whole breakdown of this yesterday. I did a whole video on this, and you can go check it out. But basically, nothing against John. As far as I'm concerned, John Lynch is a made man. He's a great guy. He was a Hall of Fame player. He's a phenomenal face of the franchise. He's a terrific person. Heck, I told you the story, Damon. When my dad died, this guy picked up the phone and left me a very long, I'm sorry voicemail, and just,
it's nice.
It was like, Damon, you know how bad you felt when your parents passed. It's like, you're raw, it's like a raw feeling. And I really felt uplifted by that. And so I feel the need to give John like a full credit for as much as I possibly can, because I like him as a guy. And I also think that he's done a lot of great things for the organization. That is over in this category, right? But over in this category, they've missed 10 times in the third round. They've missed 18 times in the first 3 rounds. So what I'd like to do is just let's hold ourselves accountable, right? It's not good enough. Let's not pretend that there's some magical reason that none of us can figure out why the Niners haven't won the Super Bowl. They haven't won the Super Bowl because the Trey Lance trade, the Javon Hargrave signing, and these missed draft choices. They've just missed on too many picks. So what's the solution? And I think the solution is take Kyle out of the equation, take John out of the equation, go bring in a sharp young general manager who's been the director of college scouting, and those are the jobs that you really want. Somebody who really knows and canvasses the entire college game, and then give that person final say, and let Shanahan and Lynch and the Niner coaches and let them tell the guy who's going to be buying the groceries what they're looking for. This is what we're looking for. We're looking for this kind of piece, this kind of piece, this kind of piece, and this kind of piece. These are the traits that we want. Okay. Now you go with, what we want. Now you go find the players. And I just think that if they put a new set of eyes on it, maybe they'd hit at a higher clip. If they hit at a higher clip, I think that's going to be the ticket to winning the Super Bowl. And so that's what I would do.
This is why I didn't like the Al Guido promotion, who's very good at his job and deserved his promotion, I'm sure. But he took the title that was just waiting to be given to John Lynch. That would have been perfect for him. So now they're going to make up like a new title if they were to do it. Again, I don't know if, look, I really like Dieter and his work. I don't know if this is something that he kind of pulled out of his ass for a conversation and then it got aggregated. But what Dieter is suggesting is something that you and I have been talking about for weeks now. So I hope he's right. I hope they're going to bring somebody else in to just look around the draft, because these guys, again, good job. Good obviously isn't enough to get you over the mountain. So it's got to get better.
I mean, let's just, for those who didn't see this, might as well just show you this. You can decide for yourself what you think of it. Here it is. Here's what Dieter said. It's about a minute and a half. Here we go. I'll put it up there, and then you guys can listen. We can react. Here it is. It'd be nice if I put some volume on it.
We're going to need to hear it, Larry.
One more time with feeling.
First of all,
Yeah.
John Lynch is not a GM. He's not a scout. He has no scouting background. Like, John Lynch was there to shake hands and kiss babies, and Kyle was there to do all the stuff. Now, if Kyle's realizing, hey, these jobs are too big, completely understand. He didn't know what he didn't know, right? Now he does. Well, that's great. Then send John Lynch to Amazon. Let him call the games, get rid of stupid Kirk Herbstreit and Al Michaels, the worst broadcast combination in the history of the universe, and bring in a real GM. Bring in somebody that's really good. Let Kyle cook the food. Let somebody else shop for the groceries.
There has been conversation about that.
Significant conversation?
Not enough to where it's actually happening, but there has been conversation to that degree.
What does that mean?
It wouldn't shock me in the next couple of weeks if a hire was made that gave you a pretty clear indication that that's the way things are going.
In the next couple of weeks?
Yeah.
Okay, that is something. Does this happen?
Might not happen, but the conversation, in order to bring this person in, such a delineation, while not strictly prescribed in the hiring, would make it very easy to infer, or very easy to see how such a delineation of John Lynch as president of football operations, fill in the blank as day-to-day general manager, and Kyle Shanahan as head coach and most important voice in the building would fall into place. That does not mean it's going to happen. It does not mean that it is, to my knowledge, imminent. It's just to say that in the conversation on should we bring this guy in, such a delineation would have to informally have take place, because there's no way to bring him in otherwise.
Is that why Al Guido is now CEO?
No, they just wanted to give Al more money.
Again, it was the conversation he's listening to.
It's like it's not imminent, but it could happen in a few weeks. It's not going to happen, but it is going to happen. It's like there's a lot. I mean, I love Dietz. Dietz is one of my guys. I mean, I'm a big believer in him. I've always believed in him, even back in the day when he was first getting rolling at KNBR. So I'm not going to try to be like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I won't say that. But at the same time, he did kind of covered a lot of bases there.
Yeah,
like it could happen, it could not happen. It may, the delineation word also is kind of a,
I heard that 9 times.
Overused.
He said delineation 9 times there. And look, I agree with you. I think Dieter is really good.
Right.
I love having Dieter on the channel. I've always enjoyed talking to Dieter. He is connected. This would be one of those, like, in private, dude, you're going to have to give me a source on this, or are you watching Wake Up with Damon and Larry?
Well, I have been arguing, and then this is tough because I just told you, I love John Lynch. I think John Lynch is a really good dude. And I'm a big believer in the regime. I mean, when others have said fire Kyle, I've said you're high, you're crazy. I'm firmly in Kyle's camp. I'm firmly in Purdy's camp, and I'm a real believer in Lynch. But I also know football personnel, and I know the Niners haven't been good enough. And I know it's not because of Kyle gets the blame, Purdy gets the blame. You have no offensive line. You have no runners. You have no receivers. You have no defensive front. I'm looking at Wallow and Kendricks and Sam O and Clee Farrell and Kalia Davis. And it's like, what the fuck? You have nothing. You have absolutely nothing. So it's like, you got to get better players. And it's very frustrating to me as somebody who looks at the personnel game. I feel like I see it. I feel like it's kind of an easy fix, an easy thing to go fix, but they can't fix it. It's like they can't make these right picks. They cannot do what they need to do, which is make 5 good picks in a row. They cannot do it. They pick 2 guys that are good. Then they pick 2 guys that aren't good. Then they pick 2 guys that are good. They pick a guy that's not good. They pick a really good, not good. Really, you can't do it that way. Right. You gotta hit continuously. You have to hit, and they're just not hitting. So that's why I was like, hey, they gotta promote John into, you're the face of the franchise, and then go get the same way that John Schneider went and got a really good young coach that fit with him. They need their John Schneider. They have a good coach. They need that personnel guy who's going to absolutely hit like John Schneider hits, like Les Snead hits. And that's why the Niners have fallen behind. They have missed largely in 4 of the last 5 drafts. 24, 23, 22, 21, 20. The last 5 drafts, they've gotten very, very little and hardly anything out of the first 2 days. So I'm saying it's got to change. Peter's saying it's going to change. See, that's the difference. He's saying that there's going to be a hire made. Now, I cut it down into a couple areas. It's either going to be a consultant. Somebody said Trent Baalke. I mean, Grant joked about Trent Baalke. It's not going to be Trent Baalke, but like Trent Baalke is a guy that Jed knows. You've got other people there. Ethan Waugh is in the house. He could be the guy. It could be a hire like an R.J. Gillen. It could be a promotion from within, a Tariq Ahmad. It could be somebody like that who's Josh Williams, who interviewed for other GM jobs. I don't favor that because those guys all know what Kyle and John. You're going to ask those guys to now take over the personnel with their bosses sitting right there. It's just a little more clumsy. But Damon, I also listed like 5 or 6 guys from around the league that would be, Trent Kirshner and any number. There's like 5 or 6 guys who have worked in Kansas City and New England and Philadelphia. There's some good candidates there. And I just kind of threw them out in a video, but they need their own great personnel guy. And they need to just tell Kyle, just coach, tell John, just be the face of the franchise and set a public tone. Here's an extra $1 million, Kyle. Here's an extra $1 million, John. You know what I mean? And we're bringing in a really look at the New England Patriots, Damon. They brought in Elliott Wolf, Ron Wolf's kid. Yeah. They had a great draft. They had a great free agent period, and they went to the Super Bowl. The 49ers are not that far away, but they need a great draft, a great free agent period. And I think it's unrealistic to think they're just going to do it because they need it. They've been doing the best they can do, and we see the results. They need to do better.
Look, you got to stop looking for draft success with a magnifying glass. It's got to be readily apparent. They need a good draft this time around. And to just get back to what Dieter is saying, I hope he's right. I think it is what the Niners need. But to just piggyback on the delineation of that video, until this conversation is being had between Kyle Shanahan and Jed York, it's lip service. That's how this is a conversation that needs to be had by the owner and the head coach without John Lynch in the room.
Or maybe John, who knows? I mean, maybe John's a bright guy, man. Maybe he realizes that, hey, look, I can be a real value here, but maybe somebody else could do this at a higher clip. And
let me ask, what is, though, if this guy is not hitting in the draft, what is the real value of John Lynch? I like John Lynch. I really, really do. But outside of shaking hands and saying hello pregame to media members in and out of town, outside of doing an interview on KNBR every Tuesday morning, what would you say it is you do here when you're not screwing up draft picks? I do like John Lynch.
Well, I mean, the Niners,
I like him. I like him as a guy, but I'm not here to evaluate the guy. I'm here to evaluate the GM, and the GM ain't good enough.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I mean, these organizations are big. Like the Niners had, executives and guys like, they had, when they had Bill Walsh, they also had Carmen Policy. When they had Carmen Policy, they still had John McVay. When they had John McVay, they still had Neil Dolan. They still had executives in their front office. These are big jobs. You've got now multiple teams. Parag is doing stuff with the soccer teams. You've got, Guido, who's much more of a CEO type. I mean, you could have John as the head of football operations and have a general manager who picked the draft picks under him, and he could still be there to build consensus, to lead, to, coordinate between departments. I think he could be a liaison between the football side and the business side. I mean, I think there's plenty of things that can be done. All we're really talking about is just giving the final say of who you're acquiring out and taking that away from Kyle, taking that away from John, and putting it on an Elliott Wolf, a Trent Kirshner, somebody who's really doing this well in Kansas City or Baltimore or Seattle or Philly, somebody who's a star. I mean, the same way there's rising stars in the coaching profession, there's rising stars in the player profession, and there's rising stars in the personnel evaluation profession. Figure out who the rising star is in the personnel evaluation category, bring them here and empower them. And let's see what the next 5 years looks like. And John and Kyle, if you have an issue with it, here's an extra $1 million. Be fine with it. And I think that should make it all go away, right? I mean,
in the name of doing something different, it's time to do something different.
Yeah,
if you guys, here's the thing. If you guys had put a Lombardi trophy in the trophy case, you would have the carte blanche that can no longer just, I think, be, you can't open infinity credit markers in the casino anymore. Like eventually we're going to have to say it's time to pay this marker off before you open up the next one. So
do what we're good at. I mean, right? Yeah. Let's do what we're good at, Kyle. I mean, Mike Holmgren was a great coach. He was not a very good GM. Bill Belichick is a great coach. He's not a good GM. I mean, there are examples of really great coaches that have been done in by themselves as general managers. So it's very rare that you have the skill set where you're like this awesome offensive mind and you're also this awesome personnel evaluator. I mean, or you're a great Hall of Fame player, you're a great broadcaster, and you have a ridiculous eye for talent. Usually it's some squirrely guy who's kind of pasty, who's really, really good at this.
Why can't he be well tanned, Larry? Why has he got to be pasty?
Because he's got to be sitting in a dark room, rolling that film back and forth. And it's just like, you know what? Find your genius personnel guy. And then all of a sudden, guess what? Kyle Shanahan's going to win Super Bowls, and Brock's going to be, everybody's going to be a superstar if they get it done. And everybody's going to be a donkey if they don't. So what do you want to do? You want to get it done, or you want to keep doing the same thing and hope you get it done, or you want to change it up and try a new path for 4 or 5 years? I mean, if I was Jed, I'd say, okay, look, I don't want to get rid of anybody. I don't want to fire anybody. But, we can't go on like this forever without winning. We've been here for 10 years. How about let's try this for 5, and let's see if we get it done after 5. And if not, we'll reevaluate then. And then, I mean, if you're Kyle, if you're John, I mean, how many people have your job in the NFL for 10 years and then have 5 more years to figure it out? But if I was Jed, that's what I would say. I would say, hey, let's bring in this sharp young general manager. Let's give this guy, the autonomy to pick some guys. Let's give it a 5-year run, guys, and then we'll take a look in the next 5 years of where we're at. And if we still haven't gotten it done, maybe we'll switch it back. Maybe we'll do something different. At least then you're saying, let's do this together, as opposed to we're showing you guys the door. Because, I mean, I think the problem, what's going on here, Damon, is that Kyle's too valuable to dump, and Kyle has final say, and he chose Lynch. So it's like, and yet Kyle wants to win, and so he's not going to fire Lynch, and Jed doesn't want to fire Lynch, and I don't think they want to fire Lynch.
Fired. No one needs to get fired. We have come up with the right smooth way to do this. The golden parachute promotion. Everybody gets sprinkled in either another year or a mill here or whatever, or an extra trip on the Jed York private plane, whatever the fuck it takes to just make everybody happy. But we're going to bring in somebody to help you with this group project, which you continue to not necessarily fail, but you're not scoring nearly good enough. So we're just going to bring in another set of eyes. And look, if it comes to adding someone who's pasty, well, like and subscribe to Wake Up, because this is the pastiest show talking 49er football. So thank you very much. Let's, Larry, I think there are a few more supers came in here at the end. I know you went through a couple already. I'm going to run these past you real quick. This comes from Fuji saying, R.I.P. actor Robert Duvall. Oh, the consigliere is gone.
To me, one of the most underrated movies of all time. And I don't cry in movies, but this movie got me to cry, and I don't remember.
Can I guess it? Can I guess it before you say it?
Sure.
The Great Santini?
No.
Oh, okay.
Which was a tough one between, a father and a son. That was a very tough relationship. No, I was going to say the movie Tender Mercies.
Oh,
you ever watched the movie Tender Mercies? And I don't remember exactly why I was brought to tears in that movie, but I definitely was. And Robert Duvall was absolutely spectacular in Tender Mercies. And I think he won the Academy Award for it. I forget if he I thought he did. I thought he won Best Actor for Tender Mercies. You could look that up. See
I'm looking this up right here. Are we looking at this?
That was a great movie, for sure. And obviously what he did in The Godfather. I mean, Robert Duvall is an incredible actor.
I don't know. I do know this. It touched you because it's tender. And you're a very tender guy, Larry. There's no doubt. Let's see here. Trade Mac for a second. Go get Addison and Brian Thomas Jr. That's from Niner Man 101.
I love that idea. I mean, I love the idea of Addison Jr. Addison. I love the idea of Brian Thomas Jr. I think they would both be very, very good picks for sure.
Look, Mac might even get a first. How about this? No other pick, a first rounder for Mac?
No, I don't think you're getting a first rounder for Mac.
Quarterback class could be that desperate. They really could be.
I will say this, though. Man, I spent a lot of time this weekend taking a look at the quarterbacks in the draft. Because, well, it's really it's a very interesting draft for quarterbacks. Obviously, there's Fernando Mendoza, right? He's going number 1. And, there's a lot to like about Mendoza. But then when you look at the rest of that draft class, you're like, well, wait a second. Is this a bad year for the quarterbacks? And on first blush, you say, yeah, this is a bad year. But, man, after watching, and I went back and looked at all these guys, I kind of like what I'm seeing out of Ty Simpson. I think he's probably going to go in the first round. I kind of like what I see out of Garrett Nussmeier from LSU. He's the son of a coach. I don't know why he wasn't good at LSU, but he sure looked good in the All-Star game. So I definitely like those guys a little bit. Though
I mean,
the
I've seen a
49ers,
list, Larry, where they're talking about best quarterbacking options to just be available this offseason. I've seen like a retired Derek Carr be among the top 5. So it's just
well, yeah, we're gonna hit that real quick, but yeah, I mean this class also has some interesting guys. I'll give you a couple. Cole Payton from North Dakota State is a left-handed quarterback who plays at North Dakota State. He's 6'3", 230, very athletic. He's interesting for sure. Jalen Daniels, the Kansas quarterback who I saw in the East-West Shrine game, 6 feet, 220. You know, he definitely can move around. He's an interesting player. But the guy that I absolutely love, and Jacob Clark from Missouri State is also a very interesting player. 6'4", 230, good arm, winners, played well down the stretch. But the guy that I just absolutely love, and if I were the Niners, I would definitely draft this guy, is Mark Gronowski from Iowa. And I did a video on this week. This guy is really, really underrated. He's the winningest quarterback in NCAA history. He's 58-10 career, 6'2", 235, big kid, kind of like a Taysom Hill. 10 and a quarter inch hands. Those are massive hands. Proven leader, proven winner. Guy can process really quickly. Good on the RPO. Good on the play action fake. Deceptive, smooth ball handler from under center. Gamer, attitude. You know, this guy's got experience in a pro style offense. He's got leadership qualities. He's got that it factor. He's a 4-time captain. Won the MVP of their bowl game against Vanderbilt, then won the MVP of the East-West Shrine game. 68 career starts, super athletic family. His dad played quarterback at Drake. The guy was thought to be a not great arm strength guy, but he showed up in Mobile, or showed up at the not at Mobile, in Frisco, Texas, at this East-West game, and he showed plenty of arm strength. He really looked good. He threw the ball well. Now the accuracy, question mark. Lacks the big arm, stares down some
Beathard
receivers.
2.0. CJ
like
Beathard 2.0.
This guy, no, this guy's way better. This guy's more mobile, way more mobile than CJ Beathard. He's an interesting day 3 quarterback. He's a winner. He's a winner, man. There's a lot to like about Mark Gronowski. Started off at South Dakota State throwing passes to Tucker Kraft and all those guys, and then transferred this last year. Didn't have a great year at Iowa, 10 touchdowns, 7 picks, but they have kind of a weak offense overall. But I love this kid as a late round flyer. That I would trade Mac Jones, and that would be my third quarterback. I'd find this kid in the draft and bring him in, and probably he's probably gonna be a 7th round pick. He might not even be drafted.
What they think of Curtis Rourke. And we'll find out a little bit about what they think of Curtis Rourke through the drafting process and maybe free agency. But the reclamation project of some failed somewhere else already pro quarterback, I think, is more enticing than Iowa's mostly run-heavy offense giving you the next answer at backup quarterback. Like if you're trading Mac Jones, I just don't think that you can come back and I don't think the Niners are in a spot where they can be stocking the cupboard. They have too many on-field needs to be stocking cupboards. So I don't know. I don't really agree with that at all.
I agree. I mean, I think they have too many needs to go spend money on a big time backup quarterback. I think at some point this is the year you got to find out about Rourke. You got to find out about,
well, their big-time backup quarterback is on the roster and under contract. It's the only A-plus Mac Jones.
Yeah, but I'm just saying you're going to trade Mac Jones. I mean, there's no question about that. There's no question they're going to trade.
I think there's a question about that. I really do. I think that this team.
You want to bet on that? You already owe me a steak dinner. You want to go double or nothing on the steak dinner?
Well, who's the running back?
Trade Mac Jones?
Emmitt Smith.
What's that?
Who is the running back who's supposed to be Emmitt Smith?
Corey
He didn't play for the 49ers at all. And how'd you win that bet?
Corey Kleiner, he's in the league. He's playing with the Vikings.
Not the Niners. But anyways, look at it. Look, I see it going both ways. I just think that Mac Jones is the ultimate insurance policy, and you don't have to sell insurance to the guy whose house just burnt down. They understand the value. So I think it's going to take a Godfather level offer for them to come off of Mac Jones. And if you do get that Godfather level offer, then it's time to maybe talk about that. But in the meantime, the only A+ the Niners get, I think, at any position is backup quarterback. In terms of where do you score against the rest of the league, I think they have the best backup quarterback in football.
They're not going to keep him. I don't think they're going to keep him against his will. I don't think he really wants to be here. I know he said the right things, but I don't buy that. I think come on. Does he want to make $7 million this year and then take his chance to make some money in 27? Or does he want to go somewhere where they can rip up that $7 million and pay him $20 million or $30 million? So, I mean, it makes sense that he would want to go somewhere, and he gave them a great year. And I don't know. I just think that when you look at it, I was seeing a breakdown of the quarterback. I think it was somebody on ESPN, the former Jets GM, Tannenbaum. He says that Miami's going Malik Willis, that Atlanta is going to wind up, or that Arizona is going to wind up with Tua Tagovailoa, that the Vikings are going to somehow wind up with Kyler Murray, that the Jets are going to wind up with some combination of Kirk Cousins or Ty Simpson, that the Steelers will run it back with Aaron Rodgers, and he has Mac Jones going to Atlanta. Michael Penix is the ACL. Matt Ryan's the GM there now. So I don't know. He's got Mac Jones in Atlanta. I just think that when you look at supply and demand, when you say Godfather offer, I don't know how you define that, but I mean, I would say
we're talking 3 picks, a second, a conditional 4th, and a 6th. We can talk.
You're easily getting that. I don't think that is the Godfather offer at all. To me, the Godfather offer would be 2 day 2 picks over the next 2 drafts and a player. And I think that's reasonable. I mean, you're talking about a quarterback. This is your starting quarterback. You don't have a starting quarterback. So if you're one of these teams that doesn't have a starting quarterback, go ahead. You don't want to give me my price for Mac Jones? Go ahead. Draft Sawyer Robertson or Drew Aller or Carson Beck or somebody. You know what I mean? So I do think they're going to get a pretty good offer.
By the way, Larry, I told Jillian I'd definitely be done at 11. I'm not doing my show at 11 because she's got to hop on, do meetings again. We got 2 kids home today, thanks to it being President's Day. So we got to wrap this up. At least I got to wrap this up. Are you ready for a couple more supers here? We got food.
Yeah, I think we skipped some up here because
let me get these. What do you think we skipped? Thoughts on Sac State joining the MAC for football only?
Yeah, I mean, way to go, Sac State. It's amazing, but it's amazing, but I don't think it's good for college football. I mean, it's ridiculous, but it's good for Sac State. The funniest
tweet I saw over the weekend was you have an automatic rivalry built in between Sac State and Ball State. So there you go.
God, that's awful.
Fuji again says thoughts on Ole Miss quarterback Chambliss winning his extra year of eligibility. Lots of college and football basketball players trying to get another year. Yeah, I mean, you can basically be a professional college quarterback. They need to go back to you get 5 years playing. That's it. There is a wild, wild west that has gotten a little too wild in terms of eligibility and all this shit. I think in college, I think you should get max 5 years, not a 6th year, not a 7th year. Professional college quarterbacks. I don't like it. It's like Carson Beck. I don't like it.
It's weird. You got some guys who are trying to leave college early, and then you've got other guys who are just trying to stay in college forever. And it's like, what happened? Those days of guys leaving early for the pros, it's like those days are over. Now every college quarterback, or if a guy's entering the draft, now he's doing so at like a financial risk compared to, what he could have done. This guy could have stayed at, blankety blank school and stayed in school. And it's like, what? But that's where we're at.
Look at it this way. If you're going to be a day 3 pick, you will make more money as a starting quarterback next year in college than if you're a day 3 pick.
Well, you know what it is you got to handicap the whole field. Like, for example, I think that if you can play quarterback, this was the draft to be in. If you can't play quarterback, I mean, next year's draft is going to be loaded at quarterback. So it's going to be, it's going to be interesting to see. It's just kind of a weird situation. It's like guys want to stay in school to get more money to make $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, whatever, playing quarterback. But then you got to develop at some point too. So
another one from Ernberg here saying Watkins will have 1,000 yards in 2026. Brock Purdy MVP. That feels like it's coming with if sarcasm could have a font, it should be written in sarcasm. Let's see. What did we miss? What did we miss? Oh, I think this from Fuji saying F you, Larry. No, this is from Spazmatic saying F you, Larry. Only draft good position tunes and fill out the rest with free agents. Did we get that one?
We got that one. Did we get this one though?
James Foster. Krug, explain to Damon that the college wide receiver getting placed from purple card. Yeah, we did that on Friday. He doesn't need to explain it to me. You saw that on our show. Thank you.
What's that? It says Krug, explain to Damon the college wide receiver getting player from a purple card on the sidelines versus Kyle's complex offense makes sense. Why rookie receivers? Yeah, I mean, there's layers of. I mean, it's not even about Kyle. It's just about complexity of the college game versus the pro game. The pro game is very, very, very choreographed. You're going to be here when Brock is there. The ball's going to be here, and you have to be there. And it's not like you can just do whatever you want. In the college game, you can kind of do whatever you want. Do we get this one?
I don't think so.
What does that say? That's
we got way too many sleepers here. Like here are my sleepers.
I'm going to give you my sleepers. Jalen. What does it say? Jalen Waltall.
Max Tomzak.
Oh, these Brannon Thompson. Oh, I see. No, these are real guys. Jalen Husky, Moore. Okay, Delby. Okay,
let's just say thanks for the super, Carson. Thank you.
Just Josh Morton, Jordan Pollard. What do you think? Bro, seriously, really?
Okay, hold on. What do you? Ozzy has a message for this show. What's your message, Oz?
It's time to go upstairs.
It's time to go upstairs. It's officially time to go upstairs. Larry, right. Anything else there? I think we're good. Right? Yeah. Why did Kay Adams get to book so many guests? There you go.
No, we didn't get this one either. Fuji says, is it a long-term goal for the NFL to play one international game every week of the season, or goal to have every team play one international game a season? Well, I think they would definitely want to play a full season of international games. It doesn't have to be every single team. Who's ready for the second term of Trent Baalke? Nobody wants to see Trent Baalke. We got this one.
Bad idea. Let me just tell you this right now. You don't want another round of Trent in your room.
We got that one. We got all these. Let's see. Do we get this last one here?
You like that place?
There. Yes, we do. All right.
We did that.
All right. That's going to do it for us. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle. Thanks to Sleeper. We didn't even do my Sleeper read, but I probably should do it before we get out of here. The Krug Show, of course, is brought to you by Sleeper. Quick shout out to our friends at Sleeper. You've already known Sleeper for fantasy football, daily fantasy, but they've also rolled out something new called Team Picks. Team Picks is built right into the Sleeper app and lets you make simple predictions on game outcomes. Instead of worrying about player stats and all that complexity setting lineups, it's designed to be straightforward and easy to understand, especially if you like following games closely but don't want to deal with all that extra complexity. So if you're already on Sleeper for fantasy, it's right there waiting for you. And if you're new, Sleeper continues to be an all-in-one platform for following your teams and staying connected to the action. And thanks to Sleeper for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show.
Did you tell everyone thank you for watching Wake Up?
Thank you for watching Wake Up.
Thanks to Habbas Law as well. 1-800-INJURED. They will fight to make it right. HabbasLaw.com on the web. If you need a lawyer, they're great ones right there. 1-800-INJURED is their number. HabbasLaw.com on the web. And that is going to do it for us. Thanks to Damon. Thanks to all of you. Have a great rest of your day. I'm going to be with FP Santangelo starting at coming up here at noon to 3:30. FP&I on the leader. So check that out later today. For Damon, I'm Larry. Have a great one. Peace.